Hello guys, get ready for a monumental story out of California today that changes the game on executive power and domestic military deployments. This week, Governor Gavin Newsom finally secured a victory against the White House, forcing the Trump administration to pull back federalized National Guard troops that have been deployed to the streets of Los Angeles for months. Okay, so we're going to start right now. Please like and subscribe, like and comment. I want to read a few comments live before I finish this episode today. So let me tell you what's going on. There's this whole, battle going on between Gavin Newsom, Donald Trump. Months ago, he deployed the National Guard to Los Angeles. Then he did the same thing to Portland. He did the same thing to Chicago. It's been ongoing for a while. There's been tons of battles in the courts. But now, last week, we had on Wednesday, a federal judge finally ruled that Trump had to return control of the California National Guard to Gavin Newsom. And actually, let me just read quickly here for you guys about this particular article. Check this out. So it says here, a federal judge ordered the Trump administration on Wednesday to end its deployment of National Guard troops in Los Angeles and to return control of the California National Guard to Governor Gavin Newsom. And actually, by the way, just like today, Gavin Newsom started throwing punches. Why? Because, this has been, today was a deadline. They had a deadline to file, if they wanted to appeal. This happened last Wednesday. The judge said, I'm going to order you to give control back to Newsom, but I'm not going to ask you to do it immediately. I'm going to give you a couple of days until Monday. Why? Because if you want to appeal, if you really want to appeal the decision, then you can do so. So in this case, they didn't do it. So Donald Trump never gives up. But, I wonder if you guys want to comment, leave me a comment and tell me, why do you guys think the Trump administration did not appeal this ruling by this judge telling them that they had to return control of the National Guard finally, back to Gavin Newsom? And they did. And Gavin Newsom is celebrating today. Check this out. He posted this today on his Twitter account. It says, for the first time since June, there are no federalized troops deployed to the streets of Los Angeles. Thanks to the work of many, this clear authoritarian overstep by Donald Trump, right, has ended. So this is, again, he was throwing punches. He's celebrating, saying for the first time since June, control, is back in my hands where it, should have been. And the thing here is that the big news pretty much broke, like I said, today, December 15th. And Newsom posted this confirmation for the first time, saying that he had full control. This confirms that the Trump administration chose not to appeal a stinging federal court order, which marks a clear end to what Newsom just called, we read it, an authoritarian overstep. This ruling is a massive blow to the administration claims of, sweeping, unreviewable power. Trump wants no check. He wants no accountability, no one interfering with what he calls, a super mandate. He says that he has a great 77 million Democratic mandate that it's supposed to be above, state law, federal law, and even above the Constitution. And he feels nobody can stop him, right? But anyway, on December 10th, which is last week, this U.S. district judge granted a preliminary injunction. He ordered the administration to relinquish control of the remaining troops. I think by today, it was just like 100 troops left. They started with 4,000 back in June. It was down to today, it was down to like around 100. But anyway, they had to return them to the state, and the judge gave the White House until noon today, Monday, December 15th, to appeal the injunction, but troops were pulled back instead. So pretty much this is a very, very unexpected thing. Judge Breyer did not mince words. He rejected the administration's legal defense that protests against federal immigration enforcement amounted to rebellion, and that was justifying federalizing state troops. He called the administration's claim that a president could extend deployment indefinitely shocking. Breyer also warned that this interpretation would allow a president to create a perpetual police force comprised of state troops, right? If nobody can really oppose whatever a president says, he could literally create this police state indefinitely. And the judge said that was very, very dangerous. He also called the mission itself profoundly un-American, stating that peaceful protest does not justify military deployment. And this case is particularly notable because the judge also stated the administration's argument for continued deployment, bordered on misrepresentation. They were misrepresenting a lot of the facts and things that they were telling the judge. Furthermore, Attorney General Rob Bonta, which, Rob Bonta has been with Brian Tyler Cohen on his show many times recently, called the ruling a victory for the rule of law and stated Donald Trump, the president, is not a king. It comes down to that. So what's going on now with Portland, deployments, in Portland and Illinois? So the LA victory right now, the Los Angeles victory, is huge for states' rights. But the legal battle over these federal deployments is far from over in many other cities. The Trump administration, this call-up of troops to Chicago is currently being weighted by the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court is right now analyzing this case. What's going to happen? And remember, the sad thing here and the concerning thing here is that the Supreme Court keeps extending Donald Trump's presidential power. So right now, when it comes to this deployment, the deployment to Chicago area was previously blocked by a U.S. district judge. Like L.A. and Chicago, Portland has been involved in litigation challenging the deployments. In Oregon, the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals had previously put a ruling on hold that would have allowed the president to take command of the Oregon National Guard troops, creating a state kind of like limbo. But Attorney General Rob Bonta from California previously secured a final ruling that blocked the cross-state deployment of California National Guard troops to Portland, because when Trump was he was stopped in Portland, he wanted to take the guards from California and move them to Portland. This means the core legal question, the president's authority to federalize state troops over a governor's objection, is still being decided across the U.S. court system. Something that really catches my attention here is that there's videos of Donald Trump during his first term Donald Trump saying we cannot federalize, the National Guard without a governor's, approval. That would be illegal. Donald Trump is on record himself during his first term saying that it would have been illegal to deploy the National Guard, not counting, without a governor's approval. And let alone, that we're not really seeing that any of the requirements to deploy the National Guard or federalize, the military, none of those are actually being met at this point. So while Los Angeles pretty much won this battle right now, for now, we still have to wait to see who's going to win the war long term, because the legal battle over the future of domestic military deployment continues to rage across the country. And you can bet Donald Trump is not giving up. That's why I am really, kind of puzzled today, because I was expecting Donald Trump to fight. Donald Trump never backs, he never backs out. He never backs down. He never takes back whatever he says. He never changes his decision. He will fight. Look at this. They did this with Lindsey Halligan in the Eastern District of Virginia. You know that she was kicked off the cases. She was deemed illegally appointed, and the cases were dismissed. So after the cases were dismissed because she was illegally appointed, the Trump administration was, kind of like, I don't know. I guess they were thinking about the optics. Well, if we recreate the documents, trying to re-indict Letitia James or James Comey, and we remove her name and just put the other, whatever new prosecutor we bring, on this case, it's going to look like we accepted that she was illegal. It's going to look like we're submitting, to the court order. So you know what they did? They brought, this other prosecutor, I think it was from Indiana or something like that. They couldn't even find, which wasn't new. That was the problem they had since the very beginning, since they got rid of Eric Siebert. Nobody wanted to help in the Eastern District of Virginia. Nobody wanted to help Lindsey Halligan because everybody was on board with the same vision of Eric Siebert, which was the original U.S. prosecutor, the U.S. attorney, who started the investigation into James Comey and Letitia James. But that guy said, a career Republican, that guy said there is no real proof. There's no evidence to go against these two people, so I'm not going to do it. Donald Trump ended up firing this guy, and he appointed Lindsey Halligan. Lindsey Halligan, obviously, we know, was illegally appointed, and she was removed. But now what they did was they brought this other guy from, I forgot, I think it's from the South. This is the only one prosecutor they could find so that he could now try to recreate the documents with his signature. Obviously, he's a legally appointed U.S. prosecutor at the time, so whatever documents he creates are going to be, binding and legit and accepted by the courts. But what they did was stupid as hell. They created these documents with this guy's, new signature, but they still added Lindsey Halligan's name. So it's just kind of like, I don't know, being petty, trying to mess with the judge, tell him, well, you're telling us to take her away. You're telling us that she was illegally appointed, but we don't care. We still are going to add her name to the new court documents trying to re-indict Letitia James or whatever. And then the judges were not having it. The Midas Touch was talking about this case today where they said, you have to remove her name. We don't want to see her name. We don't want to hear about her. She was never, and she will never be a U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, at least not as of now. And her name doesn't have to be in any of these documents with the title of U.S. attorney or whatever. They were pissed as hell. And then I don't know, I wonder, what the hell are they thinking? Unless you don't give a shit about the court system and about judges thinking, well, we're going to just file this case here. But once these judges who, which we don't care about, rule, we're always going to appeal. And then this is going to end up, I don't know, at the Supreme Court, because they can always find a way, even though some cases may still be state related cases. They don't care. They don't care if this, in this case, obviously, this is a federal case, but they don't care if they have to even interfere with state law. We're seeing that right now in Colorado and in some other cases in which they're trying to even make federal, presidential pardons apply to state crimes. So they don't give a shit. Why would you try to piss for no reason? I don't know, just fight with a judge over nothing. Over something that is 100% evident that shouldn't have happened in the first place. Lindsey Halligan was not legally appointed. And I'm not sure who's familiar with this or not, but the law states, and this was even changed in 2007, Congress amended a law which covers vacancies for U.S. attorneys. They have 120 days after Donald Trump appoints somebody or names somebody. They have 120 days to get that person confirmed in the Senate. If they don't get the person confirmed in the Senate, what happens is that then the district court now has jurisdiction to actually either extend the existing person or to name a new one, but the president doesn't get a second chance to name, either a second person or to extend the person who was just, whose term just expired. And Donald Trump thinks he's above the law. This is why Congress in 2007 amended that law, because the George Bush administration back then was gaming the system. They wanted to bypass the Senate's confirmation. And that's where you have, the separation of powers, checks and balances. We need that that check in place. Why? Because any president can name somebody who has conflict of interest, who may have business dealings with different, countries, who may have, who knows, terrorist ties. So you need the Senate vetting these people, these candidates, to make sure they don't have any conflict of interest, that they really represent the best interests of the country and the American people. So that's why, even though they'll give you this interim position, okay, you can name somebody because we understand that, the show must go on. We need to put somebody there, but it'll be only temporary for 120 days. If you're not able to get Senate to confirm that candidate in 120 days, tough luck. Tough luck. We don't care. At that point, then the court The district court is going to decide if that person gets to stay any longer or if they want to name a completely different candidate. So that's the law. And of course, we know Donald Trump doesn't care about the law. He doesn't care about federal law, state law, let alone the Constitution. So he will say, well, that was George Bush or that was other presidents who were limited by that law. But now I am the law. Now I am, the king, the dear leader, and whatever I say will stand. And Pam Bondi, she's going to obey me. She's just going to do whatever I want her to do. So that's what's going on with that case right now. But the thing is that they keep pissing up the judges for no reason, fighting for no reason. It's hard enough to win a case on its merits alone. That's hard enough to overcome. You're the prosecutor. It's hard enough to overcome whatever loopholes or whatever technicalities or whatever I don't know, just good story the defense is going to bring up, whatever exculpatory evidence. So you need to have a solid case. You need to bring your A game to win these kinds of cases, especially when these cases are literally on camera every single day, because these are high-profile cases. So that means that stakes are even higher. That means that judges and everybody is going to go by the book 100% because these cases are being highly scrutinized. So I understand it takes a special kind of stupid in this case, of course, probably like Donald Trump. And Pam Bondi has demonstrated she's like way up there with him when it comes to making stupid decisions and pissing up judges for no reason. But anyway, going back to the case with the National Guard, remember the National Guard deployment didn't have to do with any insurrection, currently, or rebellion currently in Los Angeles or Chicago or Oregon or Illinois, or even a foreign invasion. It has to do with getting people used to domestic deployment so that Trump can use the military, the National Guard, use them in battlegrounds during the elections in 2026 and or 2028. In 2020, this is not really far-fetched or any fantasy or anything crazy. In 2020, Donald Trump tried to seize voting machines. But then we had some honest people that were still following the law in the Pentagon and the DOJ, at the FBI, and they slammed the brakes on Donald Trump and say, hey, hold your horses. We're not doing this. But we have little to no guardrails right now, no protections for democracy. Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, they won't stop Donald Trump. If anything, they will probably enable him to go for whatever he wants. Seizing voting machines, arresting people, shooting protesters, making up stories about fraud, and so on. So we're not even remotely out of the woods when it comes to all the dangers Trump poses to our democracy. But anyway, I don't know. I think this is kind of stupid what they're doing, but I believe this was good news today to finally see that Gavin Newsom recovered control of the National Guard. And then, he's just out there just posting and throwing punches and telling Donald Trump, your days are counted. This is finally going to come to an end. And I think things are going in the right direction right now. If we see what's happening with the elections, if you see what's happening with polling, Donald Trump right now is, I don't know, more unpopular than ever. He's been, I think right now, the last polling I saw, I believe he's underwater by 67%. Like the disapproval rating is like 67%. And then what's even more shocking is that normally on polls, Donald Trump, he would be all over the place in different categories. But when it came to some of his strengths, like the border, immigration, and the economy, in those, no matter what, he would still perform decently. But lately, not even when it comes to that, not even the border, not even immigration, not even the economy, and no surprise. Of course, I'm not surprised because the economy is not doing good right now. We know all the problems that we have when it comes to unemployment, like 1.1, almost 1.2, according to newer reports, 1.2 million jobs lost in 10 months. And, electricity, it's actually up in different places, anywhere from 8% up to like 13%, in some cases up to 18% electricity. And I know there's many different factors controlling that, but Donald Trump promised that on day, pretty much on day one, he was going to lower all the prices for groceries. He promised that by the beginning of 2026, which is, if you look at the calendar right now, so this is the 15th, that's literally in 2 weeks, 15 days. In 15 days, he promised by the beginning of 2026, electricity will go down by 50%. He said he would end the war in 24 hours. He said he would bring back manufacturing, all these things. And we know, it's not happening. Inflation is still, pretty much the same, if not higher. Unemployment is up. Companies are not hiring. There's like a hiring freeze pretty much national, at the national level right now. Why? Because people, companies are very insecure. They can't have a plan because, they make a plan today and Donald Trump comes up with a new executive order tomorrow, like a new tariff tomorrow. It all depends how he, got out of bed, and by which side of the bed he finally got out of bed in the morning, or who tweeted, or what country said something about him. And then all our foreign policy and all our domestic business plans change just like that because he doesn't have a plan. Donald Trump is constantly improvising, and unfortunately that creates a very, very unstable environment for businesses. And that's why we're seeing a lot of people, many businesses and corporations, cutting back. They're holding back. Even the drill, baby drill, they're not drilling. Companies are not drilling right now, oil companies. So as much as they want to claim that they're changing everything, and they say, oh, gas prices are finally coming down, so energy is not only gas. Go and check. I mean, oil. Gas prices are actually up. So anything, gas used for heating right now is actually up. That price is way higher. So, metric by metric, you start checking on everything, and then people losing Medicaid, people losing Medicare, people losing SNAP. Now we're losing the ACA subsidies. They're coming up with this new bullshit plan to supposedly offer some form of healthcare option to the ACA subsidies. Some financing. They're pretty much offering right now to give people $1,000 if you're. I think if you're below 50 years, what I remember that I read, if you're below 50 years, you're gonna get $1,000 for the full year. I read that and I'm like, are you guys for real? They're giving you $1,000 if you're below, 50 years, for the full year. $1,000. That's not even $100. What are you gonna do with, I don't know, $80? Let me actually divide that right now to see exactly how much that is. If you divide $1,000 by 12, I say $80, so $83. Look at that, $83 if you're, not 50, 50 or below. And if you're more than 50, I believe they'll give you $1,500. Still, $1,500 is gonna come up to be what, like 120 something or 110? Let me check. $1,500, maybe a little bit more. Divided by 12, 125. Yeah, I said like 120, so $125. How is that supposed to fucking help you? If you were paying right now, I was just literally checking just for myself. Healthcare, it's literally $1,000 for myself because I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own business, and I don't get through any company. I can't get my healthcare, and right now I have to renew. It's $1,000 just for me, literally, and also for my daughter, who is right now I help her with that. She's over 26, so I cannot have her on the same. But we were processing it, and that one is also going to be close to $600. So just for two people. Like $600, $1,600 right now. So it's very expensive. But tell me how, if you were paying $1,000 or $1,500 for, 2 or 3 people, how in the world $100 are going to freaking help you? And then not only they're going to give you $1,000 or $1,500, depending if you're 50 or over 50, they want to put that money in health savings accounts. So they're so stupid because, well, I guess I don't know, maybe they're just thinking that if you have the money, you can use the money from some other source and then just use the money in your health savings account. But the thing is that with a health savings account, money you cannot pay. This is illegal. You cannot use the health savings account to then just go and pay insurance. that Brian Tyler Cohen was discussing this yesterday. Let me see if I have that clip here that I can share a little bit with you. What was this episode yesterday? Title, because I work with Brian Tyler Cohen for, you're following the show. I work with Brian doing translation to Spanish, and I know we covered an episode yesterday. So let me just check here in my folder to see if I have this. Was it let me see if it was this 24 million. Okay. Yeah, so it was this episode about Trump, 24 millions or something. Let me see the title here. It says Trump confronted to his face about surging healthcare costs. So let me create a quick window here so that I can actually share, a clip of this episode. So just a second here.
End of this year, those extended Obamacare subsidies expire. What's your message to those 24 million Americans who will see their insurance premiums go up?
Don't make it sound so bad, because obviously you're a sycophant for Democrats. You're obviously a provider of bad news for Republicans. Let me just say something. The Republicans, I think I can speak for Tom and most other people. I think what most Republicans want to see is what I want to see. And I leave it to them, and hopefully they're going to put great legislation on this desk right here. We want to see all of the money that's been squandered and given to insurance companies, because Obamacare is horrible health insurance. It's far too expensive, and it always has been. But what it really is a way of making insurance companies rich. We want the money not to be paid at all to insurance companies. Insurance companies have gone up 1,700% over a short, meaning the stock. 1,700% over a short period of time, and they've taken in hundreds of billions and even trillions of dollars. And we want the money to go to the people. They'll go in the form of a insurance account, healthcare account, or any other form that we can create. We have a lot of different forms. We want to give the money to the people and let the people buy their own great healthcare, and they'll save a lot of money. And it'll be great. Now, the problem we have is that the Republicans are not at all controlled by the insurance companies. But you know who is? The Democrats.
Finally, Trump was asked the question that's on the minds of 24 million Americans, given the fact that Republicans have successfully managed to strip funding away from the ACA and voted against this week's effort to extend those subsidies for the next 3 years in the Senate. And of course, Trump's answer here was exactly what you'd expect. He starts, naturally, by calling the reporter asking the question a sycophant for Democrats and a provider of bad news for Republicans. Why? Because when you can't answer the question, you attack the person asking it. But let's be real here. 24 million Americans are about to see their health insurance premiums more than double because these enhanced ACA subsidies are expiring. So yeah, maybe it does sound bad because it is bad. That's not bias, that is reality. But okay. Trump then claims that he wants to take money away from insurance companies and give it directly to the people in the form of insurance accounts or healthcare accounts. Sounds great, right? Very populist, very people-powered, only small problem here, that's not actually what Republicans are proposing. What they're actually trying to do is replace the ACA subsidies that help people afford their monthly premiums with health savings accounts. And here's the kicker. HSAs, health savings accounts, cannot legally be used to pay insurance premiums. I'll repeat that. The accounts cannot pay for the thing that is about to skyrocket in price. So Trump's big solution here to people facing double, triple, quadruple premiums is to give them accounts that can't pay those premiums. No notes, Donald.
There you go. That's Brian Tyler Cohen. Please go and visit his channel, and please also go and support his Spanish channel called Brian Tyler Cohen Español. I have been working with Brian for almost 3 years now, helping him to manage this Spanish production, translating every single day anywhere from 3 to 4 episodes from his English channel so that our Hispanic community can benefit from really good information. But he's explaining that. I encourage you to go and watch that video. I believe the title in English for that video is Trump confronted to his face about surging healthcare costs. So anyway, Donald Trump, he knows things are not going good for his administration right now. And probably he doesn't care. He's a lame duck at this point. He can't run again, even though we have Steve Bannon, going around saying that Donald Trump will be the president in January, 20th, whatever, 2029. I'm not sure. I mean, probably they're going to have an ambulance and some, I don't know, a couple of doctors there and oxygen tanks for Donald Trump, who is literally falling apart. In front of our eyes, our very eyes right now, in front of the cameras. We see him every single day. He has all this bruising going on. He looks tired. They literally, right now, 10 months in, almost 11 months in, they literally reduced Donald Trump's daily schedule to meet people and do stuff publicly from 12 to 5. Imagine that, only from 12 to 5. That's just a part-time. So we have a part-time president right now, because he just can't keep up with the agenda. He's too tired. And they believe this guy is still really going to be solid as a rock in 2029. That's absolutely, ridiculous. But anyway, if you made it this far, I really want to say, hey, thank you. Thank you for, tuning in today. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Yeah, I'll be back with more content probably tomorrow, so we can follow up on what's going on in the country right now. Aside from that, please make sure to also visit Brian's channel and my Spanish channel, Aranzamendi Podcast Español. Let me just say hi quickly here to Milagros Cortez. She's leaving a comment here. Good night, Daniel. Good night, Milagros. Thank you for tuning in today. Javier Mojica from Puerto Rico. Ooh, Puerto Rico. I'm Puerto Rican, guys. If you made it this far, just know I have always a couple of very loyal supporters that follow my Spanish channel, so I appreciate them saying hello today here. We also have Edward Thornton here saying, I love your content. Please keep up the English language content. You have your finger on the Latino community, and it's important for me to know what they think. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for participating, tuning in today. Well, guys, that's all for now. I'm going to wrap it up. And I'm going to see you guys probably in my Spanish channel a little bit later today and tomorrow back again. So thank you so much. Take care, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Bye-bye.